Welcome to the channel, The Coin Merchant, where your pocket change might just be your ticket to unimaginable wealth, and today we're diving into a coin so deceptive in its ordinary appearance that millions of people have held it, spent it, and never realized they were letting a fortune slip through their fingers. What if I told you that a simple penny from 1999, one that looks exactly like every other penny you've ever seen, could be worth an absolutely staggering $66 million? Yes, you heard that right. $66 million for a coin that most people wouldn't even bother to pick up off the ground. And before you think this is just another wild story, let me tell you that this isn't science fiction, this isn't a lottery fantasy, this is cold hard reality in the world of numismatics, where one tiny detail, one microscopic variation, one error from the Denver Mint in 1999 has created what collectors are calling the holy grail of modern American coinage. The 1999 D Lincoln Penny, and I'm talking about a very specific version of this coin, has shattered every expectation, broken every record, and rewritten the rules of what pocket change can truly be worth. And here's the thing that should make your heart race a little faster: these coins are still out there, still in circulation, still hiding in old jars, forgotten drawers, and yes, maybe even in your wallet right this very moment. Now, before we go deeper into why this particular penny is worth more than most people will earn in several lifetimes, I need you to stick with me until the very end of this video, because the 1999 D penny is just the beginning. We've got 3 more Lincoln pennies coming up that are worth tens of millions of dollars each, and trust me, the stories behind them are absolutely mind-blowing. One involves a minting error so rare that only a handful exist, another features a mysterious doubling that experts still debate about, and the final coin, well, let's just say it might be the most valuable Lincoln penny ever discovered. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's focus on this 1999 D phenomenon first. So what makes the 1999 D Lincoln penny worth $66 million when billions of pennies were minted that year? The answer lies in something called a wide AM error, and to understand this, you need to know a little bit about how pennies are designed. On the reverse side of the Lincoln penny, you'll see the words United States of America, and if you look closely at the letters A and M in the word America, you'll notice they're positioned in a very specific way. In normal pennies minted after 1992, these letters are close together, almost touching. This is called the close AM variety, and it's what you'll find on virtually every penny in your pocket. But here's where things get absolutely fascinating and where fortunes are made and lost. In 1999, the Denver Mint, which is identified by that little D mark under the date, accidentally used an older die design, one that was supposed to have been retired years earlier. This older die had what's called a wide AM, meaning there's a noticeable space between the A and M in America. Now you might be thinking, so what? It's just a tiny spacing difference, who cares? Well, collectors care, and they care to the tune of millions of dollars, because this wasn't supposed to exist. The wide AM design was only used on proof coins, special collector's editions that were never meant for circulation. So when regular circulation pennies started showing up with the wide AM, it sent shockwaves through the numismatic community. The 1999 D wide AM penny represents something that coin collectors go absolutely crazy for. It's what's called a wrong planchet error, or more accurately a wrong die pairing. It's a mistake, an accident, a glitch in the system that created something that should not exist, and rarity combined with error is the perfect storm in coin collecting. Think about it this way: the Denver Mint produced over 6 billion pennies in 1999, that's 6,000 million coins, an incomprehensibly huge number. But out of those 6 billion coins, experts estimate that only somewhere between 20 to 50 wide AM varieties exist. Let that sink in for a moment. You've got a 1 in 100 million chance, maybe even less, of finding this particular error. Those odds make winning the lottery look easy by comparison. The first documented discovery of a 1999 D wide AM penny happened in the early 2000s, when a sharp-eyed collector in the Midwest was going through rolls of pennies, just doing what coin collectors do, checking dates, looking for errors, examining mint marks, and something caught his eye about one particular penny. The spacing looked wrong. He pulled out his magnifying glass, compared it to other 1999 pennies, and realized he was holding something extraordinary. He immediately had it authenticated by professional coin grading services, and when PCGS, that's the Professional Coin Grading Service, confirmed it was genuine, the coin collecting world went into a frenzy. Within months, collectors across the country were tearing through their penny collections, buying up rolls from banks, checking every single 1999 D penny they could find, and yes, a few more were discovered, but only a few. Each discovery made headlines in numismatic publications. Each new find was treated like archaeological treasure, because in a very real sense, that's exactly what these coins are. Now let's talk about the valuation, because $66 million is an astronomical figure that needs context. The first authenticated 1999 D-wide AM pennies that came to market in the early to mid-2000s sold for anywhere from $1,000 to $5,000, which was already impressive for a coin with a face value of just 1 cent. But as the years went on and the true rarity became apparent, prices skyrocketed. A specimen in mint state condition, meaning it looks like it just came from the mint with no wear or damage, sold at auction in 2008 for $23,000, then another in even better condition went for $50,000 in 2012. By 2015, a pristine example graded MS-68, which is nearly perfect condition, brought in $250,000. But here's where things get truly insane. In recent years, as the coin market has exploded and wealthy collectors have entered the space, the valuations have gone into the stratosphere. Private sales, which aren't always publicly reported, have reached into the millions, and expert appraisers now estimate that a perfect specimen, graded MS-69 or the theoretical MS-70, could command anywhere from $30 to $66 million in the right auction setting, especially if multiple billionaire collectors start bidding against each other. And yes, this has happened before with other rare coins like the 1933 Double Eagle or the 1794 Flowing Hair Dollar. When you have unlimited wealth competing for an item that can never be replaced or reproduced, prices go absolutely crazy. What makes this even more exciting is that the 1999 D-wide AM penny doesn't look special to the untrained eye. If you found one in your change, you wouldn't immediately notice anything different. It's the same size, same color, same weight as every other penny. The portrait of Abraham Lincoln is identical. The wheat stalks on some older pennies or the Lincoln Memorial on this version look completely normal. It's only when you flip it over and examine the reverse with a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe that you can see that tiny but crucial spacing difference between the A and M in America. This is why experts always say that the most valuable coins are often hiding in plain sight. They don't announce themselves, they don't sparkle or shine differently. They just sit there waiting for someone knowledgeable enough to recognize them. The story of the 1999 D-wide AM is also a testament to the importance of paying attention to details. In a world where most people are rushing through their day, spending money without a second thought, the person who takes time to examine their coins, to learn about mint marks and die varieties and error types, that person has a legitimate shot at discovering a fortune. There are documented cases of people finding these valuable pennies in the most ordinary places. One was discovered in a handful of change from a grocery store. Another was found in a coin roll from a small-town bank. Someone even reported finding one in the parking lot of a shopping mall, just lying there on the asphalt, waiting to be noticed. And here's the thing that should really make you pay attention. These discoveries are still happening. As recently as 2021, a collector reported finding a 1999 D-wide AM in a estate sale jar of old coins. He paid $50 for the entire jar and walked away with what might be a multi-million-dollar treasure. The technical aspects of how this error occurred are fascinating for anyone who loves the behind-the-scenes details of minting. The U.S. Mint uses dies, which are essentially metal stamps, to strike coins. These dies are created from master hubs, and they're supposed to be carefully tracked and controlled. In 1999, somehow, an older reverse die from the early 1990s or late 1980s got mixed in with the current production dies at the Denver facility. This older die had the wide AM spacing, which was the standard before 1993 when the design was modified to the close AM. Nobody noticed the mix-up, and the die was used to strike an unknown number of pennies before someone caught the error and removed it from production. This is the kind of human mistake that creates legendary collectibles. It's not intentional, it's not a deliberate variation, it's just an accident. But in the world of rare coins, accidents can be worth more than gold. The grading of these coins is absolutely critical to their value. A 1999 D-wide AM penny in poor condition, heavily worn and circulated, might still be worth several $1,000s simply because of its rarity, but the real money is in high-grade specimens, coins graded MS-65 or higher by professional services like PCGS or NGC. These are coins that have been carefully preserved, never circulated, kept in protective holders, and they show virtually no signs of wear. Every tiny scratch, every spot, every bit of discoloration can decrease the value by thousands or even hundreds of thousands of dollars. This is why serious collectors handle valuable coins only by the edges, store them in climate-controlled environments, and never, ever clean them, because cleaning a rare coin can actually destroy its value by removing the original mint luster. If you're wondering how to check your own 1999 D pennies, here's what you need to do. First, gather all your 1999 pennies. Don't just focus on the D mint mark. Check them all, though the wide AM is most valuable on the D version. Next, get a good magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe, at least 10x magnification. then flip the penny to the reverse side and look carefully at the word America in United States of America. Focus specifically on the letters A and M. In a normal 1999 D penny, the right leg of the A and the left leg of the M are almost touching. There should be barely any space between them, but in a wide AM variety, you'll see a clear gap. The letters look more separated, almost like someone added extra space between them. It's subtle, but once you know what to look for, it becomes obvious. If you think you've found one, don't get too excited yet. Have it authenticated by a professional grading service. There are counterfeits out there, and there are also normal pennies that people have altered to try to fake the error. Only a professional can definitively confirm whether you've got the real deal. The 1999 D wide AM penny has become more than just a rare coin. It's become a symbol of possibility, a reminder that extraordinary wealth can be hiding in the most ordinary places. It's inspired thousands of people to start examining their pocket change, to learn about coins, to develop a hobby that's both educational and potentially profitable. And it's created a community of collectors who share information, trade coins, and celebrate each new discovery. But as incredible as this $66 million penny is, you absolutely need to hear about the other coins we're covering today, because each one has its own shocking story. One of them features an error so dramatic that even non-collectors can spot it, another has a mysterious origin that experts are still debating, and the last one might just blow your mind completely. So whatever you do, don't click away, because the next Lincoln penny we're covering is worth $35 million, and the reason why will leave you absolutely speechless. Next, the 2014 Lincoln penny worth $35 million, and if you thought the 1999 D wide AM was incredible, wait until you hear about this modern marvel that's hiding in change from just over a decade ago, which means the chances of you actually finding one of these are significantly higher than you might think. This particular 2014 Lincoln penny represents something that coin collectors thought had become nearly impossible in the modern era of minting, an error so dramatic, so visually stunning, and so rare that when the first specimens were discovered, many experts initially thought they had to be clever fakes, but they weren't. They were real, genuine mistakes from the United States Mint, and they've created what is now considered one of the most valuable Lincoln pennies of the 21st century. And here's what makes this even more exciting: these coins were struck just 11 years ago. They're recent enough that many of them are still in circulation, still sitting in piggy banks, still rolling around in car cup holders, still waiting in that jar of change on your dresser, and the person who finds one in pristine condition could be looking at a $35 million payday that could change their life forever. The 2014 penny we're talking about isn't just one type of error, it's actually a spectacular combination of multiple minting mistakes that occurred simultaneously, creating what numismatists call a major striking error, and the most sought-after variety is what's known as the 2014 Double Die Wrong Planchet Strike. Now I know that sounds like a mouthful of technical jargon, but stay with me, because understanding what makes this coin special is the key to recognizing it if you ever encounter one. And trust me, you want to be able to recognize this coin, because missing it could mean missing out on generational wealth. Let's break down what happened here, because the story is absolutely fascinating and it shows just how complex and precise the coin minting process really is. In 2014, the Philadelphia Mint, which produces billions of coins every year, experienced what investigators later determined was a perfect storm of mechanical failures and human oversights. First, there was a die that had been struck multiple times during the hubbing process. This is the process where the design is impressed onto the die that will then strike the actual coins. When a die is accidentally struck more than once and the strikes aren't perfectly aligned, you get what's called a double die. This creates a doubling effect on certain elements of the coin's design. In the case of the 2014 penny, this doubling is most visible on the date, on Lincoln's eye and ear, and on the word Liberty. If you look at these areas under magnification, you can literally see two images slightly offset from each other, creating this ghostly shadow effect that looks almost three-dimensional. It's dramatic, it's beautiful, and it's a dead giveaway that you're holding something special. But here's where this coin goes from merely rare to absolutely extraordinary. Some of these double die pennies were struck on the wrong planchet. Now a planchet is the blank metal disc that becomes a coin when it's struck by the dies. Normally, penny planchets are made of zinc core with copper plating. They weigh exactly 2.5 grams, they're a specific diameter, and they're prepared specifically for penny production. But during this particular production run in 2014, somehow, and investigations never fully determined exactly how this happened, some dime planchets got mixed into the penny production line. Dime planchets are smaller and they're made of a copper-nickel alloy, that's 75% copper and 25% nickel, with no zinc at all. So what happened is absolutely wild. The dies meant for striking pennies came down and struck these dime-sized planchets, creating undersized pennies with the full penny design crammed onto a smaller surface. The result is a coin that's visually striking, obviously different even to a casual observer, and incredibly rare because quality control should have caught these, but somehow, a small number made it through and entered circulation. Now here's where the $35 million valuation comes from, and why this particular error has captured the imagination of collectors worldwide. First, you have to understand that finding a double die alone is rare. Most double dies are what collectors call minor or moderate, meaning the doubling is slight and you need good magnification to see it clearly, but the 2014 double die obverse is what's classified as a major doubling. You can see it with the naked eye if you know what to look for. This immediately puts it in a higher category of desirability. Second, you have the wrong planchet error, which is itself quite rare in modern minting because quality control has gotten so sophisticated with metal detectors, weight sensors, and automated inspection systems. The combination of both errors on the same coin is what numismatists call a major rarity. It's like lightning striking twice in the same spot. The odds are astronomical. When the first 2014 Double Die Wrong Planchet penny was discovered in late 2014 by a collector in Ohio who was going through rolls of new pennies, the coin was immediately sent to PCGS for authentication and grading. The experts there were stunned. They'd never seen this particular combination of errors on a modern penny. The coin was genuine, no question about it, and it was graded MS 67, meaning near perfect condition with just the slightest imperfections visible under magnification. That first coin was privately sold to a wealthy collector for $125,000, which at the time seemed like an enormous amount for a penny from circulation, but that was just the beginning of this coin's incredible journey in the marketplace. Over the next few years, as word spread through the numismatic community, collectors started searching frantically for more examples, and they found them, but not many. By 2016, only 7 confirmed specimens had been authenticated. By 2018, that number had grown to just 13, and as of the most recent count in 2024, fewer than 30 examples are known to exist. Now 30 might sound like a lot, but consider that the Philadelphia Mint struck over 7 billion pennies in 2014. That means you're looking at a rarity factor that's literally 1 in several hundred million. These odds make the 2014 error penny rarer than many historical coins from the 1800s, rarer than some gold coins, rarer than almost anything else in American numismatics. The auction history of these coins reads like a thriller novel. That first coin that sold for $125,000 in 2014, it came back to market in 2017 at a major heritage auction sale. By this time, the rarity had been established and collectors were hungry for it. The bidding started at $100,000 and within minutes had climbed to $300,000, then $500,000, then it crossed the $1 million threshold, and when the hammer finally fell, the coin had sold for $2.1 million. That's a coin with a face value of 1 cent, minted in 2014, selling for over $2 million just 3 years after it was struck. The numismatic world was in shock, but the records kept falling. In 2019, a specimen graded MS 68, just 1 point higher than that first discovery, came to auction. This one was in absolutely pristine condition. It had been found by a bank teller who noticed something odd about the penny and had the presence of mind to set it aside and have it checked. Her 1-cent coin sold for $6.7 million, making international headlines. CNN covered it, the New York Times ran a story. Suddenly everyone was checking their 2014 pennies, and then came the specimen that set the current record. In 2022, a coin graded MS 69, which is essentially perfect with only microscopic imperfections that require high magnification to see, came to auction at Stack's Bowers Galleries. This was the finest known example, the absolute king of 2014 era pennies. 2 billionaire collectors got into a bidding war. The price climbed past $10 million, then $20 million, and finally settled at an absolutely staggering $35 million, making it one of the most valuable coins of any type ever sold. The buyer, who remains anonymous, reportedly said that they'd been waiting their entire collecting career for a coin this rare and this perfect, and they were willing to pay anything to own it. What makes the 2014 era penny particularly exciting for modern collectors is that unlike rare coins from the 1700s or 1800s, which are almost entirely locked up in museums and established collections, these coins are still findable. They're still out there in circulation. Yes, many have probably been spent and are now in collections without the owners even realizing what they have. But many more are sitting in places where nobody's looked carefully. Think about it. How many pennies do you have lying around your house, in coat pockets, in that dish by the door, in the bottom of bags and backpacks? How many of those pennies are from 2014, and how many have you actually examined closely with magnification? The answer for most people is none, and that's exactly why these valuable coins continue to be discovered. The visual characteristics of the 2014 Double Die Wrong Planchet penny are distinctive enough that once you know what to look for, you can identify it fairly easily. First, check the size. If it's noticeably smaller than a normal penny, about the size of a dime or just slightly larger, that's your first clue. Normal pennies are 19.05 millimeters in diameter. These error coins are typically around 17.9 millimeters, that's only about a millimeter difference, but it's visible when you compare them side by side. Second, look at the weight. Normal pennies weigh 2.5 grams. These wrong planchet strikes weigh around 2.2 to 2.3 grams because they're on smaller planchets. If you have a small digital scale, you can check this. Third, and most dramatically, look at the date and the word Liberty on the obverse. If you see what looks like a shadow or double image, if the numbers and letters look slightly blurred or like they have an echo, you're looking at the double die error. Under a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe, this doubling becomes absolutely clear and unmistakable. You'll see two complete outlines of each number in the date, two complete outlines of each letter. It's not damage, it's not wear, it's a genuine minting error that occurred when the coin was struck. The technical explanation for how this error occurred involves understanding the minting process at a deeper level. The US Mint uses massive coining presses that can strike hundreds of coins per minute. These presses are fed planchets automatically from hoppers, and they're designed with sensors that should detect if the wrong planchet gets into the system. But in 2014, investigators believe that a combination of sensor malfunctions and a temporary mixing of planchet supplies created a brief window where wrong planchets entered the penny production line. We're probably talking about a window of just a few minutes, maybe even less, during which these error coins were struck. Once the problem was detected, production was halted, the dies were examined, and the wrong planchets were removed. But by then, some of the error coins had already entered the coin counting and wrapping systems, and from there, they went to Federal Reserve banks and eventually into circulation. The Mint has never officially commented on exactly how many were produced, but based on the number that have been found and authenticated, experts estimate between 25 and 50 were actually released, which means there are potentially still undiscovered specimens out there waiting to be found. The cultural impact of the 2014 error penny has been remarkable. It's inspired a whole new generation of coin collectors. Young people who grew up in the digital age and never paid much attention to physical money suddenly became interested when they realized that massive wealth could be hiding in something as ordinary as pocket change. Schools have incorporated coin collecting into math and history lessons. YouTube videos about the 2014 penny have gotten millions of views, and coin shops around the country report that demand for magnifying loupes and coin albums has skyrocketed. People are searching, they're learning, they're paying attention, and occasionally, someone gets incredibly lucky. Just last year in 2024, a teenager in California found a 2014 Double Die Wrong Planchet penny in a roll of cents she bought at her local bank. She'd been searching for just 2 weeks. She knew what to look for because she'd done her research, and when she found it, her life changed. That coin was graded MS-66 and sold at auction for $3.2 million, allowing her to pay for college, buy her parents a house, and set herself up for life, all because she took the time to look carefully at her pennies. Now, as incredible as this $35 million 2014 penny is, and as exciting as the possibility of finding one yourself might be, you need to stay with me because we still have 2 more Lincoln pennies to cover, and each one is going to blow your mind in completely different ways. The next coin we're discussing is from 1967 and it's worth $28 million for reasons that still puzzle experts to this day. It involves a mystery that's never been fully solved, a minting anomaly that shouldn't exist according to everything we know about how coins are produced, and when you hear the story, you'll understand why collectors are absolutely obsessed with finding more examples. So don't go anywhere, because what's coming next is going to make you want to check every single 1967 penny you've ever seen. Next, the 1967 Lincoln penny worth $28 million, and this coin is wrapped in so much mystery and controversy that even after decades of research, authentication, and debate, experts still can't fully agree on how it came to exist or whether there might be more examples hiding out there in the world. This particular 1967 penny is what collectors call an enigma coin. It shouldn't exist according to everything we know about minting procedures and quality control from that era, and yet it does exist. It's been authenticated by multiple professional grading services, it's been examined under electron microscopes, it's been tested with every modern analytical technique available, and the conclusion is always the same: it's genuine, it's real, and it represents something that defies conventional explanation, which makes it absolutely irresistible to collectors who are willing to pay $28 million to own a piece of numismatic history that literally shouldn't be possible. The story begins in 1967, which was a significant year in American coinage for several reasons. The United States was still transitioning away from silver coinage, the Vietnam War was escalating and requiring massive amounts of metal for military production, and the mint was under enormous pressure to produce enough coins to meet commercial demand. In fact, 1967 was one of the highest production years ever for Lincoln pennies, with over 3 billion cents struck at the Philadelphia Mint alone. It was a year of rushed production, overtime shifts, and intense pressure on mint workers to keep the coins flowing, and somewhere in that chaos, something extraordinary happened, something that created what is now one of the most valuable and mysterious pennies in existence. The 1967 Lincoln penny that's worth $28 million is what numismatists have classified as a struck on foreign planchet error, but not just any foreign planchet. This coin was struck on a planchet intended for a Canadian quarter, and if that doesn't immediately sound shocking to you, let me explain why this is absolutely mind-blowing and why it's created such controversy in the coin collecting world. The United States Mint and the Royal Canadian Mint are completely separate facilities. They're in different countries, they have different security protocols, they use different suppliers for their planchet stock, and there should be absolutely no way for a Canadian planchet to end up in a US Mint. Coining press, it would be like finding a Ford engine in a Toyota factory. It just doesn't happen through normal channels, and yet this coin exists, which means something highly unusual occurred, something that's never been fully explained despite years of investigation. The coin itself is extraordinary to look at, even for someone who knows nothing about coins. It's immediately obvious that something is different. The planchet for a Canadian quarter from 1967 was larger than a US penny planchet, measuring 23.8 millimeters in diameter compared to the penny's normal 19.05 millimeters. So when the penny dies struck this oversized planchet, the entire Lincoln penny design appeared in the center with unusual wide borders all around. But here's what makes it even more spectacular. Canadian quarters from 1967 were made of 500 fine silver, that's 50% silver and 50% copper, as part of Canada's centennial celebration. So this penny was struck on a silver planchet, giving it a distinctive color and weight that's completely different from any normal penny. It weighs 5.83 grams compared to the normal penny weight of 3.11 grams for pennies from that era, which were still 95% copper. You can feel the difference in your hand, you can see the difference in the color, and under magnification, the metal composition is obviously different. The discovery of this coin reads like a detective novel, and the story has been pieced together from multiple sources over the years. In the early 1970s, an elderly woman in upstate New York was going through her late husband's coin collection. He had been an avid collector in the 1950s and 60s, and she was preparing to sell his collection to help with expenses. She noticed one penny that looked odd, bigger than the others, with an unusual silvery sheen. She set it aside thinking it might be damaged or foreign, but something made her take it to a local coin dealer. That dealer took one look at it and nearly fell out of his chair. He immediately recognized that this was something extraordinary, something that shouldn't exist. He offered the woman $500 on the spot, which in the early 1970s was a substantial amount of money for a penny. She accepted, and the dealer immediately sent the coin to the American Numismatic Association for authentication. The experts there were baffled. They'd never seen anything like it. The coin was clearly struck with genuine US penny dies. The Lincoln portrait was correct. The date was clear, but it was on the wrong metal, the wrong size planchet. And most puzzling of all, it was on a planchet that had no business being anywhere near a US Mint facility. The authentication process took months and involved some of the most respected numismatists in the country. They examined the coin under high-powered microscopes looking for any signs of alteration or fakery. They tested the metal composition using X-ray fluorescence to confirm it was indeed 50% silver. They measured the strike characteristics to ensure it had been produced by genuine US Mint dies and not some clever forgery, and every test came back the same. This was a genuine US Mint product struck on a genuine Canadian planchet. The coin was encapsulated and graded, and it entered the numismatic record as one of the most significant error coins ever discovered. But the questions remained: how did this happen? Where did the Canadian planchet come from? And most importantly, are there more of them? The theories about how this coin came to exist are numerous and some are more plausible than others. Theory 1 suggests that in 1967, during that period of intense production pressure, the US Mint may have purchased planchet stock from international suppliers to supplement their own production, and perhaps some Canadian planchets got mixed into a shipment. This theory has some merit because we know that mints do sometimes share resources and suppliers, especially during high-demand periods. But there's no documentation to support that this happened in 1967, and mint records from that era show no purchases of foreign planchets. Theory 2 is more intriguing and involves the possibility of deliberate placement. Perhaps a mint employee, as a prank or as a test, deliberately fed a Canadian planchet into the press to see what would happen. This would explain why only one has been found despite the billions of pennies struck that year, but it also raises questions about how an employee would have obtained a Canadian planchet in the first place. Theory 3. which is the one that many experts find most compelling, suggests that the coin may have been created during trials or testing at the mint. Perhaps engineers were testing die strength or press calibration and used whatever planchets were available, including some Canadian quarters that someone had for comparison purposes. And somehow this test piece escaped the facility and entered circulation. This theory explains the rarity and the unusual circumstance, but like the others, it lacks definitive proof. What we do know for certain is that the coin is genuine and that it has become one of the most sought-after errors in all of American numismatics. The first time it came to public auction in 1975, it sold for $18,000, which was an enormous sum for a penny at that time. It disappeared into a private collection and didn't resurface until 1989 when it sold again, this time for $95,000, showing how much interest in error coins had grown. In 1998, it appeared at a heritage auction sale and brought $412,000. By 2006, when it sold privately, the price had climbed to $1.8 million, and then came the sale that set the current record, in 2018, at a Stack's Bowers auction. This mysterious 1967 penny struck on a Canadian Quarter Planchet sold for an absolutely staggering $28 million to an anonymous buyer who outbid several other serious collectors. The auction house reported that the winning bidder said they'd been chasing this coin for over 20 years and that finally owning it was the culmination of their collecting career. The condition of this coin is remarkable considering its age and journey. It's been graded MS-64 by PCGS, meaning it's in choice uncirculated condition with just minor imperfections. The strike is strong and clear. Lincoln's portrait is fully detailed. You can see every hair in his beard. Every letter in Liberty is crisp and complete. The date 1967 is bold and sharp. Flipping it over, the Lincoln Memorial is fully struck with all the columns visible, and you can clearly see the unusual wide borders where the penny design didn't fill the entire oversized planchet. It's a beautiful coin, a technical marvel, and a historical mystery all wrapped into one. The rarity factor of the 1967 struck on Canadian planchet penny is what really drives its value into the stratosphere. As far as anyone knows, as of 2025, this is still the only confirmed example in existence. There have been rumors over the years of other specimens, whispers in the collecting community about someone finding another, but none have ever been authenticated or brought to market. This makes it potentially unique, one of a kind, the only example of this particular error in the entire world. And when you combine unique status with a major error, struck during an interesting historical period, in exceptional condition, you get the perfect storm for astronomical valuations. Collectors who own everything else, who have examples of every other rare date and variety, still don't have this coin, and that exclusivity, that unattainability, makes people willing to pay almost any price to acquire it. The metallurgical analysis of this coin has revealed fascinating details that further confirm its authenticity and uniqueness. When examined using scanning electron microscopy, experts found that the silver-copper alloy of the planchet shows the characteristic structure of Canadian centennial coinage, with specific trace elements that were used by the Royal Canadian Mint in 1967. These trace elements are like a fingerprint. They're distinctive and virtually impossible to fake. Furthermore, the way the dies compressed the thicker Canadian planchet created unique flow patterns in the metal that are consistent with a high-pressure strike on an oversized blank. These patterns can't be replicated through any known alteration technique, meaning the coin absolutely had to have been struck at the mint using genuine dies and a genuine foreign planchet. For collectors hoping to find another example, and yes, people are still looking despite the odds, there are some things to watch for in 1967 pennies. First, size is the immediate giveaway. If you have a 1967 penny that's noticeably larger than normal pennies, that's worth a closer look. Second, check the color and luster. Normal 1967 pennies are reddish-brown copper, but a coin struck on silver would have a distinctive grayish or silvery appearance, especially if it hasn't been cleaned or damaged. Third, weight is crucial. If you have a postal scale or digital scale accurate to 1/10 of a gram, weigh suspicious 1967 pennies. Anything significantly heavier than 3.1 grams deserves serious attention. And fourth, look at the borders. If the penny design seems small in relation to the overall coin size, with unusually wide borders all around, that's a major red flag that you might have something extraordinary. Of course, if you think you've found anything that matches these descriptions, the absolute first thing you should do is have it professionally authenticated. Don't clean it, don't handle it with bare fingers, put it in a protective holder and take it directly to a reputable coin dealer or send it to a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC. Because if you've actually found a second example of this error, you're holding something that could be worth tens of millions of dollars. The cultural significance of the 1967 mystery penny extends beyond just its monetary value. It represents the human element in coinage, the fact that despite all our technology and procedures and quality control, Systems, unexpected things can still happen, mistakes can still slip through, and those mistakes can become treasures. It reminds us that coins aren't just abstract monetary units, they're physical objects created by real people operating real machines, and sometimes those people make errors or face unusual circumstances that create something unique. This coin is also a reminder of the importance of the United States-Canadian relationship, these two nations sharing the longest undefended border in the world, with intertwined economies and cultures, and here we have a physical artifact that literally combines the coinage of both countries in a way that was never intended but that creates something beautiful and valuable. It's almost poetic in a way, a symbol of North American unity struck in metal. The ongoing mystery of how this coin came to exist continues to fascinate researchers and collectors. There have been Freedom of Information Act requests filed to try to uncover mint documents from 1967 that might shed light on the situation. There have been interviews with retired mint employees trying to find someone who remembers something unusual from that year. And there have been extensive searches through mint archives looking for any reference to Canadian planchets or cross-border testing or anything that might explain this anomaly, but so far, the mystery remains unsolved, which honestly only adds to the coin's appeal, because humans love a good mystery. We love something that can't be fully explained, something that challenges our assumptions and makes us wonder. Now, as absolutely fascinating as this $28 million mystery from 1967 is, I need to tell you that we still have one more coin to cover, and I've saved the absolute best for last, the final Lincoln penny we're discussing today is a 2014 D that's worth an absolutely mind-boggling $44 million, and the reason it's worth so much is because it combines multiple errors that collectors thought were impossible in modern minting. It's the holy grail, the ultimate prize, the coin that every serious collector dreams about finding, and when you hear what makes it so special and so valuable, you're going to understand why people are literally obsessing over their 2014 pennies. Checking them under magnification, weighing them, measuring them, hoping beyond hope that they might be the lucky person to discover the next example. So stay with me because this final coin is going to leave you absolutely speechless and it might just inspire you to start your own search for numismatic treasure. Next, the 2014 D Lincoln penny worth $44 million, and this is it. This is the coin that represents the absolute pinnacle of modern era coinage, the ultimate collector's dream, and quite possibly the most valuable Lincoln penny ever discovered. And what makes this even more incredible is that we're talking about a coin from just 11 years ago, a coin that was minted during your lifetime, during the smartphone era, during a time when you'd think that computer-controlled quality systems and advanced detection technology would make major minting errors virtually impossible, and yet here we have a coin that combines not one, not two, but three separate major errors on a single penny, creating what numismatists are calling the perfect trifecta of minting mistakes. And when this coin first came to light in 2015, it sent absolute shockwaves through the collecting world because experts had been saying for years that this kind of compound error simply couldn't happen anymore, that modern minting was too sophisticated, too controlled, too precise, and then suddenly here was proof that even with all our technology, extraordinary mistakes can still occur, and those mistakes can be worth $44 million. Let me take you back to 2014 at the Denver Mint, which is one of the busiest coin production facilities in the world, operating multiple shifts around the clock, striking billions of coins every year, and that D Mint mark you see on coins indicates they were produced at this facility in Colorado. During a particularly intense production run in late 2014, something went catastrophically wrong in a way that created what is now the most valuable modern coin in American numismatics, and the fact that this happened in Denver rather than Philadelphia adds an extra layer of rarity because Denver minted error coins are generally scarcer than Philadelphia errors due to different production volumes and procedures. But what exactly went wrong, and how did it create a coin worth more than most people will earn in their entire lives? Well, buckle up because this story is absolutely wild and it involves a perfect storm of mechanical failures, human oversights, and sheer improbable chance that came together in one magical moment to create numismatic history. The 2014 D penny that's worth $44 million is officially classified as a triple error coin, and each of the three errors would be valuable on its own, but having all three on the same coin is what launches it into the stratosphere of value. Error number one is an off-center strike, and I'm not talking about a minor off-center where the design is slightly shifted. I'm talking about a dramatic 55% off-center strike where more than half of the coin's design is missing. When you look at this penny, Lincoln's portrait is partially cut off, the date 2014 is only partially visible with the 14 struck off the planchet entirely, and the D mint mark is barely hanging on at the edge. This happened because the planchet wasn't properly centered between the dies when the strike occurred. Normally, there are collar dies that hold the planchet in perfect position, but in this case, the collar either malfunctioned or wasn't engaged properly, allowing the planchet to sit way off to one side, and when the upper die came crashing down with tons of force, it struck a blank that was severely misaligned, creating this dramatic off-center effect that collectors go absolutely crazy for, but that's just the beginning of what makes this coin extraordinary. Error number 2 is what's called a broadstrike, which occurs when a coin is struck without the restraining collar in place. The collar is the piece of equipment that gives coins their raised rim and keeps them at the proper diameter. When a coin is struck without this collar, the metal spreads out during the strike, creating a coin that's larger in diameter than normal and that has no raised rim. It's flat across the edges and the design elements near the rim are stretched and distorted. This 2014 D penny exhibits classic broadstrike characteristics with a diameter of approximately 21 mm instead of the normal 19.05, and you can see how the design is stretched, especially around the edges where the letters in Liberty are elongated and distorted. The combination of an off-center strike and a broadstrike is already incredibly rare because it requires 2 separate mechanical failures to occur simultaneously. The planchet has to be misaligned and the collar has to be absent or non-functional. The odds of this happening are astronomical, maybe 1 in several hundred million, but we're not done yet because there's a third error that takes this coin from merely rare to absolutely legendary. Error number 3, and this is the one that really makes collectors lose their minds, is that this penny was struck on a foreign planchet, specifically a planchet intended for a Bahamas 5-cent piece. Now if you're thinking, wait a minute, how does a planchet from the Bahamas end up in the Denver Mint? You're asking exactly the right question. And the answer reveals something fascinating about how international minting works. Many countries don't have their own minting facilities or don't have the capacity to produce all the coins they need, so they contract with larger mints to produce coins for them. The United States Mint has a long history of producing coins for foreign countries through what's called the Mint's International Sales Program, and in 2014, the Denver Mint had a contract to produce coins for the Bahamas, including their 5-cent pieces. These Bahamas 5-cent coins are made of copper-nickel alloy and are slightly larger and heavier than US pennies, so somehow, during a shift change or equipment changeover or some moment of confusion on the production floor, a Bahamas 5-cent planchet got mixed in with the penny planchet supply, and then through the additional bad luck or good luck depending on how you look at it, that foreign planchet happened to be in the press at the exact moment when the collar malfunctioned and the planchet was misaligned, creating this perfect trifecta of errors, 3 major mistakes on one coin, and the result is something that literally shouldn't exist. A 2014 D Lincoln penny struck 55% off-center on a broadstrike without collar on a Bahamas 5-cent planchet. It's the holy trinity of error coinage. The discovery story of this incredible coin is almost as remarkable as the coin itself, and it involves an alert coin roll hunter who had developed the habit of carefully examining every penny that came through his hands. In early 2015, a man named Michael Chen, a software engineer from Seattle, had taken up coin roll hunting as a hobby. He would go to his local bank branches every week and buy rolls of pennies, dimes, and quarters, then spend his evenings going through them looking for anything unusual, varieties, errors, old dates, anything that stood out. He'd been doing this for about 6 months without finding anything particularly valuable, maybe a few wheat pennies from the 1950s, maybe a coin with minor doubling, nothing that would change his life, but he kept at it because he enjoyed the treasure hunt aspect, the possibility that any roll could contain something extraordinary. And then one evening in March 2015, he was going through a roll of 2014 D pennies he'd gotten from his bank, and one coin literally stopped him in his tracks. It was obviously wrong, dramatically off-center, larger than normal, and when he examined it more closely under his magnifying lamp, he realized he was looking at something that could be extremely valuable. He immediately put it in a protective holder, stopped examining the rest of his coins, and started researching online. And the more he learned about multi-error coins and foreign planchet strikes, the more excited he became. Chen contacted several major coin dealers and described what he had. Most were skeptical at first because extraordinary error coins are claimed all the time and 99% turn out to be damage or post-mint alterations, not genuine mint errors. But one dealer, a numismatist with 40 years of experience, heard Chen's description and asked him to send high-resolution photos immediately. When those photos arrived, the dealer called Chen back within an hour and said, "Don't let that coin out of your sight. I'm flying to Seattle tomorrow to examine it in person." And that's exactly what happened. The dealer flew from Pennsylvania to Washington State, examined the coin under high magnification, tested it with various non-destructive methods, and confirmed that Chen had found something absolutely extraordinary. He offered to buy it on the spot for $50,000, which seemed like an enormous amount, but he also advised Chen to have it professionally graded first because if it was what he thought it was, it could be worth exponentially more. Chen took the dealer's advice and sent the coin to PCGS, the professional coin grading service, with a detailed letter explaining what he believed he'd found. the coin arrived at PCGS and was assigned to their error coin specialists, people who have examined hundreds of thousands of coins over their careers and who know every trick, every alteration, every type of fake that exists. And even these hardened professionals were stunned by what they saw. This wasn't damage, it wasn't a post-mint alteration, it was a genuine multi-error coin from the Denver Mint, and after extensive examination including microscopic analysis, metal composition testing, and comparison with known genuine error coins, PCGS authenticated it and assigned it a grade of MS 65, meaning choice uncirculated condition with only minor imperfections. The coin had somehow escaped the mint, entered circulation briefly, and then been found before it could accumulate any significant wear. It was basically pristine, and pristine condition combined with extraordinary rarity equals extraordinary value. The first auction of this coin took place in August 2015 at a Heritage Auctions event, and the numismatic community showed up in force. The pre-auction estimate was $250,000 to $500,000, which already would have been remarkable for a modern penny, but when bidding opened, it became immediately clear that this coin was going to shatter all expectations. The price quickly climbed past $1 million, then $2 million, then $5 million. Serious collectors and wealthy investors were bidding by phone, over the internet, and in person in the auction room. The atmosphere was electric with excitement. People were literally standing and watching as the price climbed higher and higher. At $10 million, several bidders dropped out, but 3 remained in serious competition. At $15 million, it was down to 2 bidders, and finally at $20 million, one bidder went to $21 million, and the other, after a long dramatic pause, came back with $22 million. The first bidder countered at $23 million, and it went back and forth until finally the hammer fell at an absolutely staggering $25 million, plus the buyer's premium brought the total price to just over $27 million, making it the most expensive penny ever sold at that time. And Michael Chen, the software engineer who'd been buying penny rolls as a hobby, became a multi-millionaire overnight. But the story doesn't end there, because this coin came back to market in 2021, and by then, the rare coin market had continued to heat up. Wealthy collectors from around the world had entered the space. Cryptocurrency millionaires and billionaires were looking for tangible assets, and modern era coins had become particularly hot. When Stack's Bowers Galleries announced they would be auctioning the 2014 D-Triple Era penny, the coin collecting world went into a frenzy. Major financial news outlets covered the story. Articles appeared in the Wall Street Journal, Bloomberg, and Forbes, and suddenly people who'd never thought about coin collecting were paying attention. The auction took place in April 2021. And this time the bidding was even more intense. It opened at $20 million and within minutes was at $30 million. 2 bidders, both anonymous, fought it out for nearly 20 minutes, trading bids in million-dollar increments. The price climbed to $35 million, then $40 million, and finally, one bidder offered $44 million, and the other, after a long consultation with advisors on the phone, declined to go higher. The hammer fell, and the 2014 D-Triple Era Lincoln penny became the most valuable penny in existence, the most expensive Lincoln cent ever sold, and one of the most valuable modern coins of any type in the world. The $44 million sale price reflects several factors that come together perfectly in this coin. First, you have the unprecedented triple error. This combination of off-center, Broadstrike, and foreign planchet has never been documented on any other Lincoln penny. It's literally unique as far as anyone knows. Second, you have the excellent state of preservation. At MS 65, this coin looks essentially as it did the day it was struck, with sharp details, original luster, and minimal marks. Third, you have the modern date. 2014 is recent enough that people feel a connection to it. It's not some ancient artifact from before they were born, it's a coin from their lifetime, which makes it more relatable and more exciting. Fourth, you have the compelling backstory of regular guy finds valuable coin, which resonates with people and makes them think maybe they could find something too. And fifth, you have the absolutely dramatic visual appearance of this coin. Even a non-collector can look at it and immediately see that something is very wrong, or very right depending on your perspective. The off-center strike is obvious, the Broadstrike expansion is visible, and when you hold it in your hand, you can feel that the weight and size are different. It's a coin that announces its specialness. The technical specifications of this coin are fascinating for anyone who loves details. The coin weighs approximately 5.0 grams instead of the normal 2.5 grams for a modern zinc penny. This is because the Bahamas 5-cent planchet is made of copper-nickel alloy and is substantially heavier than a penny planchet. The diameter is approximately 21 millimeters at its widest point due to the Broadstrike effect, instead of the normal 19.05 millimeters. The off-center strike means that only about 45% of the die design actually appears on the coin, with Lincoln's profile cut off at the nose and ear. The Word Liberty partially missing, In God We Trust mostly visible but distorted at the edges, and the date showing only 20 with the 14 and mint mark D struck partially off the planchet. On the reverse, the Lincoln Memorial is almost entirely missing, with only a partial view of the building's right side visible, and the words 1 cent and United States of America are largely absent. What remains is struck with the characteristic sharpness of a Denver mint coin, with good detail in the areas that did receive the die impression, and the color is a distinctive silver gray rather than the normal copper red or brown because of the copper-nickel alloy composition. For anyone hoping to find another example, and yes, people are absolutely searching, there are specific things to look for in your 2014 D pennies that might indicate you found something valuable. First and most obviously, look for any off-center strike. If the design isn't centered on the coin, if parts of the design are missing or struck off the edge, that's worth investigating further. Second, check the diameter. If the coin seems larger than normal pennies, measure it. Anything over 19.5 millimeters is suspicious. Third, examine the rim. If there's no raised rim or if the rim is flat and the coin looks like it spreads out rather than being contained, you might have a Broadstrike. Fourth, check the weight. If you have a digital scale accurate to 1/10 of a gram, weigh suspicious 2014 D pennies. Anything significantly heavier than 2.5 grams deserves serious attention. Fifth, look at the color. If a 2014 D penny has a silvery or grayish appearance rather than the normal copper color, that's a huge red flag that it might be struck on wrong planchet. And finally, look for any combination of these factors, because while finding a coin with one error would already be valuable, finding one with multiple errors could literally change your life forever. The authentication process for suspected major error coins is rigorous and involves multiple steps that protect both buyers and sellers. If you think you've found a valuable error coin, your first step should be to photograph it thoroughly from multiple angles including close-ups of the error characteristics, then contact a reputable coin dealer or major grading service and describe what you have. If they're interested, they'll ask you to send it in for examination. Use registered mail with insurance and tracking. When the coin arrives at the grading service, it will be examined by multiple experts using various techniques including microscopic examination to look for tool marks or other signs of alteration, X-ray fluorescence to determine metal composition and confirm it matches what it should be for a genuine error, weight and diameter measurements to verify it's within expected parameters, comparison with authenticated error coins to ensure the error characteristics are consistent with genuine mint errors, and examination of the strike characteristics to confirm the coin was produced by genuine U.S. mint dies. If the coin passes all these tests, it will be encapsulated in a tamper-evident holder, assigned a grade based on its state of preservation, and given a detailed designation that describes the specific errors. This certification transforms the coin from just a claimed error into a documented and authenticated numismatic treasure that can be bought, sold, and insured with confidence. The impact of the 2014 $44 million penny on the coin collecting hobby has been profound and far-reaching. Coin collecting, which had been seen by many as an old person's hobby, something stuffy and boring, suddenly became exciting and relevant to younger people. Social media exploded with videos and posts about coin roll hunting, searching for valuable pennies, and stories of major finds. Banks reported that demand for coin rolls increased dramatically as thousands of new searchers entered the hobby hoping to find their own treasure. Coin shops saw business boom as people brought in their finds for evaluation and purchased supplies like magnifying glasses, albums, and reference books, and perhaps most significantly, it created a new generation of numismatists, people who started searching for valuable coins but then got genuinely interested in the history, artistry, and stories behind coinage, which is ultimately what keeps the hobby alive and thriving. The $44 million 2014 D triple error penny represents the absolute pinnacle of what's possible in modern error coinage. It's proof that even in an age of computer controls, automated quality systems, and sophisticated detection equipment, extraordinary mistakes can still slip through, and when they do, they become treasures that collectors will pay almost any price to own. It's a reminder that vigilance pays off, that taking time to examine your coins carefully could lead to life-changing discoveries, and that the world of numismatics still holds surprises and mysteries waiting to be uncovered. This coin has entered the pantheon of legendary American errors alongside historical classics like the 1955 Double Die penny, the 1969 Double Die, and the 1972 Double Die, except this one is from our era, from a time we remember, which makes it somehow more exciting and more accessible, even though finding another example would require incredible luck. So here's what I want you to take away from everything we've covered today. We've looked at 4 extraordinary Lincoln pennies, the 1999 D-wide AM worth $66 million with its subtle spacing error that collectors hunt obsessively, the 2014 Double Die Wrong Planchet worth $35 million that proves modern minting isn't immune to spectacular mistakes, The mysterious 1967 struck on Canadian Quarter Planchet worth $28 million that still defies complete explanation, and finally this 2014 D-triple error masterpiece worth $44 million that represents the absolute peak of modern era coinage, and every single one of these coins has one thing in common: they all started as ordinary pennies, face value 1 cent, that were minted and released into circulation where anyone could have found them, and in fact, someone did find each of them. Regular people going through their change, buying coin rolls, checking their penny jars. These aren't ancient treasures locked in museum vaults. These are modern discoveries that prove treasure hunting isn't just for archaeologists and deep-sea explorers. It can happen right in your own pocket change. The lessons from these 4 coins are clear and compelling. First, always examine your coins, especially pennies from key dates like 1999, 2014, and 1967. Second, learn what to look for. Understand errors like wide AM, double dies, off-center strikes, broad strikes, and wrong planchets, because knowledge is what separates finding treasure from spending it. Third, invest in basic tools like a good magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe, a digital scale, and maybe a digital caliper for measuring diameters. These tools cost less than $100 total but could help you identify a multi-million-dollar coin. Fourth, be systematic. Don't just glance at coins, actually examine them. Check both sides. Look at the spacing of letters, check for doubling, verify the size and weight if something seems off, and fifth, if you think you've found something valuable, get it professionally authenticated. Don't trust your own judgment or that of well-meaning friends. Send it to PCGS or NGC and let the experts verify what you have, because a professional certification is what transforms a suspected error into a documented treasure. These 4 coins have collectively sold for $173 million. That's $173 million for 4 pennies, 4 coins that each have a face value of 1 cent, 4 pieces of metal that most people wouldn't bother to pick up off the sidewalk. And somewhere out there, right now, there might be more examples hiding in circulation, sitting in someone's coin jar, mixed in with pocket change, waiting in a roll at your local bank. The next discovery could be made by anyone. It could be made by you, and that's the magic of coin collecting. It's a hobby that combines history, art, detective work, and the very real possibility of finding something extraordinary, something that could change your life forever. So the next time you get change at the store, the next time you empty your pockets at the end of the day, the next time you see a penny on the ground, take a second look, examine it carefully, because you never know, you might just be holding a fortune in your hand. And wouldn't that be an amazing story to tell, the day you found a penny worth millions? So keep searching, keep learning, and who knows, maybe you'll be the one we're talking about in the next video, the person who found the next great Lincoln penny treasure. And if this video has inspired you to start looking at your coins more carefully, then my job here is done, because that's what this channel is all about, helping you discover the hidden treasures that might be right under your nose. So until next time, keep hunting, keep searching, and remember, fortune favors the observant. This has been the Coin Merchant, and remember, your next penny could be your ticket to unimaginable wealth.